We continue. I think, mention as well the fact that tomorrow will be the day.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, tomorrow
Tomorrow
will
will
be
be the day.
where the Ayaan Hirsi, or her real name is Meghan, the Ayaan Meghan interview is going to be posted. Tomorrow is the day. The 1st of March is going to be on Mikhaila Peterson's channel.
Yeah.
And you've seen, I
Yeah.
think, most of it, if not all of it, right?
Well,
It's going to be, I think people are going to be in for a big surprise. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first time in a very long time that certain things are going to be have been said,
yeah.
and certain arguments are going to have been made in the way that they will be made.
Well, firstly, let's start with the basics, the
Yeah.
foundations here. Who
So-
are we dealing with? Who are we dealing with as a person? Because we want to get the ecosystem. Brothers and sisters,
Yeah,
we have some
yeah.
400 something people watching.
Yeah.
I want everybody to remember something. We want you on Twitter tomorrow. We want you to post, write.
Not
blog.
just that, we want you to go to Mikhaila Peterson's channel itself.
Yeah.
And be part, because last time, do you know, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a fun fact, yeah?
Yeah.
And this might have changed, I don't know. One brother actually told me this. I'm not sure if it's to what extent it's true. But when I did the Jordan Peterson discussion that went on his channel, it was one of the most viewed things on his channel, like maybe top 10 or 20.
Comments were very
But comments,
high.
I think, were the highest.
Yeah, 30 something.
So in terms of the engagement of the Muslim community, it was like some mad number. And it was all very, very positive.
It's everyone. I saw everyone on the comments.
And to be honest, that is what made it what it was. So I can only do so much. The brothers and sisters that are part of the ecosystem, the comrades, you know, it's their efforts that propel the societal narrative and the community discourse to a different level.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, we need to do the same thing again. So everyone on this channel, you have to make sure that, or everyone watching now, you must make sure that you're on Mikhaila Peterson's thing tomorrow and commenting, doing as much as you can to spread the message and to make the case. Because someone like Ayaan Meghan, tell us about Ayaan Meghan, this Ayaan Hirsi, this person who is like the most notorious so-called apostate from Islam that's been attacking Muslims and not been resisted for a very, very long time.
Well, supposedly she was supposed to be the 5th horsewoman, right, of the 4 horsemen. So you had Hitchens, who passed away, then Dawkins, Dennett, and Harris, and she was supposed to be the 5th one. You can even see online where people like Christopher Hitchens is in the audience asking her questions because they're trying to promote her as, you know, this ideal woman for the world. And what we do know is that she has a very shady history. And it's important to understand who is this particular person and why they went from having no academic credentials, having no justifiable reason to be in the public domain, to stardom. And how did this happen? And what's the actual mechanisms behind this? What is her real name? What did she actually do in her home nation that she is shunned by even the people who are supposed to be demographically on her side? What did she do in the as a feminist, which goes against the very principles of feminism, breaking up a household and causing all sorts of wreckage? And then we get into the barrage of lies that she actually has been churning out for many, many years, including some very questionable and dubious ways of statistically trying to show that there are correlations between Muslim immigration and sexual violence against the non-Muslim populations. Absolutely absurd stuff. And I think overall we can actually see her as one of the main instigators for right-wing hatred towards Muslims and even right-wing attacks, especially one which I think you referred to in your discussion with her.
Absolutely. And for more information, obviously, you're going to have to watch that discussion tomorrow, or that episode that we recorded. It's imperative that everyone on this channel does so.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that, you know, to be honest, once again, this is, I think, a critical time for the Muslim community.
Yeah.
I really do think so, bro. I really do think so, because when you see, like, for example, the Jordan Peterson podcast, that was the first time a traditionalist could speak to somebody like Jordan Peterson, can get his point across, can get him to clarify certain statements. He said that, you know, what he said about the Prophet was injudicious, which means it's bad judgment. He was mistaken to say what he said, that calling him a warlord, which was a fantastic display of humility. So if getting him to clarify his statement was one of the objectives, then no one cannot say it was not met. in addition to the fact that he heard something about the seerah, I think he started to understand the religion a little bit more, and we've built a
Well, he
relationship.
showed he wanted to engage. The
Yeah.
message of Islam, the message of Tawheed was there. In fact, the direct recitation of the Quran was there. If you like, the main tenets of Islam, the belief in God, in His messengers, in His oneness, in His revelation, in His prophethood, all of these things were there. So all of those people got that message. But wouldn't you say that we're dealing with a different kettle of fish here?
So now with this person,
yeah,
like what we're saying is all of these misconceptions that have been fed to a large portion of the Western community, not just in America, but in Holland, in all of these different places where she's moving about.
yeah.
Now it's finally the chance to crush it. And I personally believe, bro, because I did read her books. I read her books. I prepared for her very well. You know, whenever I go against somebody, I prepare for them, and whoever they may be, I prepare for them properly. I read their books. I memorize their most salient blunders, and that was put out there. It wasn't just a matter of I'm going to go and humiliate her. This was a matter of I'm going to academically tear her apart, plus I'm going to humiliate her personally as well. So both aspects are there, and when people watch it, you know, I don't think there's. I mean, lots of people have already watched it from our side.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, it's from our quality control perspective, like it's seen as a good thing. Well, and from my understanding as well, Mikhaila, because I was in contact with her team, they're going to put the entire segment of what I said. They're not going to cut anything out. Good. Although some of what I said, as you know, is very inflammatory, but I want it to go.
Well, actually, the way I would describe it is, if you're dealing with someone like Peterson, then you would deal with him in the way that he's dealing with you. You deal with respect. You deal with academic rigor. You would actually have a common dialogue on issues which pertain to both communities. However, here we're dealing with a person who's inspiring right-wing terror. Okay, let's just get that right. Somebody who's inspiring right-wing terror. Somebody who actually is glorifying and has a nostalgia for colonization.
Absolutely.
Somebody who is the ideal apostate from the African identity. Wow. Honestly, if you take her stuff and you go show it in Africa, what will they say? Will people say this is a representative of
our... this is one thing when I go to, like, because I've been around Somalis for a very long time, as you know. You know, I taught in Somali communities for many years, like the Somali students and kids and stuff, like young people and whatever. And this is the first time I'm seeing so many Somalis, like they are the most excited to see what's going to happen with this individual, because they are the most angry with this individual. They see her as the apostate from Somali identity, not just an apostate.
Not only that, she makes a straw man of it.
Yes.
I mean, she doesn't mention the good stuff.
Yes.
And in many, many ways, she has an inferiority complex which she wants to
superimpose. So this one is for the Somalis, not just for the Muslim community, but this one's for the Somali community in particular, man. Because I feel like the anger, the ghil, that the Somalis have because of the love they have with the Somali community, by the way, statistically and from anecdotal experience, I think you would agree as well, are some of the most religious people on the face of the earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, they have their duxis, bro. Like, go to a Somali community. You took duxis is where they read in the Quran and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They memorize and do tahfiz. I used to actually work in duxis. I used to teach people like Quran and whatever. And so the Somali community have their duxis. You'll find that like the average 12, 13-year-old has memorized at least 5-6 juz of the Quran at least.
And and their children know Aqidah. They know fiqh. They know the seerah. They know this. I actually used to teach some Somali children here in Halsden after I finished from university, as the recession and stuff. I had to do that, and I saw, I saw this in their community, and the beautiful thing is, wherever they go, right, they have their identity. You find the men in their clothes, and the women in their clothes. Absolutely, you have this very strong identity. They build masajid. They do all these types of things, and it's really, the way I saw it is, she disrespected the community.
She disrespected the Somali community because, bro, like the Somali community, as I said before, there are some of bro, you'd be surprised. People that don't know the Somali community, when they get to know them, they're so shocked because from everything, from the attitude of the people, the religiosity of the community, to even the cuisine, bro. Like, they've got this halabanders, the breeze,
Federation,
bro. They got the breeze, they got the halab, they got good food, man, with that green, that green sauce. They got everything going for them. That I don't eat with the banana, bro. I'll have to be honest with you. Like,
you should try it. You should try it.
I think
You know,
there's no need for that. But it just the Halab itself with the, you know, it is what it is. But so now this one's going to be for the Somali community, bro. You know, I'm trying to say this one is this is going to be.
Are there any Somalis? Are there any Somali brothers?
Somalis are brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
because they have a double obligation.
We should have got Abdurrahman to join us.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
They have a double obligation, bro.
Yeah. Do you know any Somali? Can you speak any?
Me? Yeah, fi'an. What do you call it? Fi'an tahay. You know, I don't know Somali, bro. I can get someone come in Somali. I'll speak right now. You know, fi'an tahay. Let's
see if there is.
There's two Somalis there. I can tell them.
Where?
Look, 1 and 2. Look, labadina fi'an. You know, labadina fi'an. It's like two of you are good. So I'm saying, I know my Somali language, brother. Don't worry about that. I can speak that. But yeah, this one's going to be for you. You have a double obligation, brother. You know, the Somalis here.
Yeah.
You know, you have a double obligation to when you come tomorrow for this Ayaan Meghan, this fake stuff, this fraud. We need to make sure that we're on Mikhaila Peterson's channel.
Question is more.
Firstly, are you looking forward to this tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely.
Devastating destruction of this right-wing terrorist inspirer. She inspires. Was it Anders Breivik, right?
That's right.
What did he say about her?
Bro, the guy has actually got a whole chapter dedicated to her in his manifesto.
Right.
Well, he said that me and her have, like, I'm paraphrasing, but similar view. He said that she should win the Nobel Peace Prize. The guy's praising her.
The guy is.
This is the guy that killed 77 people. 77
Oh my
people,
god!
bro.
Oh my god!
They don't know if a Muslim.
So the guy who kills
77
innocent people, butchers them.
Yes.
This terrorist.
Yes.
Is talking about her winning the Nobel Peace Prize.
He said that she should win the Nobel Peace Prize.
That's crazy.
Because he sees his views as quite commensurate with hers. Well, he's got a whole chapter on her on the
this is one of the worst terrorist
manifesto.
attacks in Europe.
I think in the last 100 years, definitely.
Yeah,
bro, it's mad. It's crazy it's imagine that, like, and this person is still being called to, like, have intellectual discussions on podcasts, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, this place and that place, as if she's some kind of an intellectual.
And there is a consistent pieces of evidence which show she has lied for many years, again and again and again.
Well, that's why this is our chance, man. This is like we don't get these chances as a community all the time. Yes.
What we mentioned earlier is that this charlatan, Ayaan Meghan, not even Ayaan Ali Hirsi, who's been prancing around the world, talking about how Muslims are evil, Muslims are basically uncivilized, and Muslims should be discriminated against.
There's a quote that she said that when I'm not saying that the apple is rotten, I'm saying that the entire basket is rotten, bro. And she's talking about Muslim people.
Yeah.
Well, this person's on a different level. Like, it's a different level of Islamophobia.
Would you say she's a self-hating black person? Like, she hates, like, it sounds like an inferiority complex, which is far worse than what you'd normally get.
There is a quote which I didn't mention in the discussion tomorrow, which is a very pertinent quote to this effect, where she says something to the effect of, she was having a conversation in one of her books, maybe it was Infidel or something like that, right? One of the books that she wrote, and she was like having a conversation with the priest, and she was like, I was telling the priest to go and do missionary activities like Muslims do dawah, and then she's an atheist. She's an atheist.
How does that make any sense?
Do what they're doing, And then, at one point, what she said, so I'm paraphrasing once again, but she's saying to restore us, like the way that they it was a civilizing force. The missionaries were a civilizing force in the days of colonialism.
Oh my God!
So she was actually, like, when you say that she was actually promulgating a colonial outlook, this is no underestimation. She was actually talking about colonialism in a nostalgic sense, but very explicitly mentioned
even people like Desmond Tutu, who passed away not too long ago. Even someone who is an open Christian is somebody who says, when the missionaries came, we had, the land and they had the Bibles, and then they had the land and they had the Bibles in our hand. Like, even someone who's a Christian, who's been Christianized through, essentially colonial efforts over a period of time, they would point out at the horrific ways in which colonization coupled with Christian missionary efforts. We're not saying obviously all Christians, but these missionary efforts, it attacked African even culture. So, for example, African culture is polygamous. there is vast amount of polygamy wherever you go, and then you have these missionaries coming and saying this is really bad behavior, and you need to have a single wife, and so on and so forth. So many, and when Islam comes into these cultures, and like it did do, it didn't come in and uproot those deep foundations. That's not what we actually find. We find that Islam is a harmonizing force in which the good parts of the culture are kept, and these types of things. So with her, no African worth their salt would say something to that effect. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the reaction of Malcolm X or Muhammad Ali or any of these these
Civil rights
black civil rights activists when they hear? And do you know what I find interesting about her? She is a classic. I think you referred to her as an apple polisher, right?
Okay.
She's somebody who is there to give the right wing the narrative that they need. Now, if there's a right wing guy, Hijab, right, and the right wing guy is like, black people are like this, and Asian people are like this, and Muslims are like this, and Jews are like this, and the right wing guy is kicking off and doing all of this stuff, it's preaching to the choir. He's only going to be able to talk to his own right wing people, right? But with her, because she's African, she's using that as leverage to give her arguments credibility. Because beyond that, if she was cut from the same cloth as she was a European person who was saying the same things, she would be no different to the thousands and thousands of racists which are out there. The only thing that made her stand out is that, it's an African saying it. So it's a classic apple polisher, and I think you need to elaborate on this point, because
we won't give too much away. Obviously, they're going to see it tomorrow on Mikhaila Peterson's channel. They should know about what's happening
tomorrow.
Yeah, they know what's happening tomorrow. So they're going to go on Mikhaila Peterson's YouTube channel. and they're going to see this,
the daughter of Peterson.
Yeah, the daughter of Peterson, obviously.
Not everybody knows this.
Oh, okay, fine. But it's they're going to see, inshallah, the opposing views channel episode with so-called Ayaan Hirsi, and if it's left untampered, and I hope it is, because they're into freedom of speech and that kind of thing, and
there was no editing of the Peterson.
Yeah, to be fair, there wasn't. No, I have trust in that process. I've got the video anyways. We've got backup.
So the thing which is important to understand is, with Peterson, we were dealing with an individual that you deal with respect, because he's trying to deal with us with respect. But here we're talking about someone who inspires right-wing terror and would love Muslims to be discriminated against, and is an apple polisher for the far right, and somebody who is actually an apostate from the African identity, someone who glorifies colonization, glorifies essentially Western imperialism. So this is somebody who is, even if, and I don't think I'm pushing the line here, even if she was not a Muslim, even if she was a Marxist or just something totally different, I think she would still need to be dealt in the same way, because in many ways, what she's pushing out is not just for the Muslim community. It's actually anti-immigration. It's anti, we've seen recently that there's this bias towards certain types of immigrants and not others during refugee situations. But you can see it's far greater than just even Islam, that she has a particular, if you like, she wants to fully endorse the narrative of the right wing and make it look like, oh, look, here's an African woman and she agrees with the right wing. And that's her only selling point and why she's famous. Let's get this ecosystem going. Let's give them a final message for tomorrow.
I think you should give us that message. Do the honors, bro.
Alhamdulillah, by the permission of Allah. And I saw the footage. I actually saw the, because obviously in the review and this and that. What we have is somebody who is there to represent the worldview of the right wing while they happen to be an African. That's what we have with Meghan. And what we also have is somebody that wants Muslims to be discriminated against, Muslims to feel demoralized, Muslims to be demonized, Muslims to be ostracized, Muslims to be cast aside as a supposed fifth column. However, what we're going to do tomorrow in the ecosystem, go on to Mikhaila Peterson's page, look at the discussion between Mohammed Hijab and Ayaan Ali Hirsi and see what actually happens. See how she is exposed, and these loaded questions that, you know, she's trying to throw out, and she's trying to push out these particular narratives, her pathetic way of putting together arguments using statistics, and even her track record of lying and being an apple polisher for the right wing. All of these things will be thoroughly exposed in a way that's not been done before, because in many ways Hitchens lost his debate to William Lane Craig. Richard Dawkins lost his debate to John Lennox. We have, you know, Sam Harris again humiliated by William Lane Craig, and you know, other times they've done blunders, and you know, their books have been addressed by Michael Roos and others. And you find all of these types of things. But in a way, this woman who was part of this new atheist, imperialist, neo-colonial project has been left unscathed until now. That's a good way of describing it.
Absolutely. And we're not just in a position where the Muslims can have representation. We're in a position where the Muslims can all come together in the ecosystem and do some real social media damage. And this might not come again. I'm telling you this. These kinds of opportunities, they do come once in a blue moon. It's not every time that we're going to speak to Jordan Peterson. It's not every time that we're going to speak to these kinds of women or men, even whoever it may be, that attack the religion of Islam. We need to strike the iron when it's hot.
Allahu Akbar.
And if we don't, we will regret it. And if we do, then this could be something that makes our life easier in the West or in the rest of the world. Yeah, and for not just ourselves, but for our children and our children's children. So let's make the most out of this. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.